Candace Owens got access to see the footage of this camera right here that was seated right behind Charlie Kirk. And what she saw from that footage raises a lot of questions for me, and I think it will for you as well. It's Sean Daniel here, and not only did Candace get to see that footage, but she spoke directly with this guy who was taking down this camera right after Charlie got shot, and what he told her is very interesting. So immediately after Charlie got shot, we had this guy right here messing with this camera, which was right behind where Charlie got shot. There's the crowd, you can see. And then we go back and we see he'd taken down the camera, which is a crime scene. You just had a guy get shot. We didn't know if he was dead at that time. So what was going on? Why would he be touching that footage, having that camera down? Is he a staffer? Is he a random person? Seems like he was a staffer because he had access to be right there and nobody was bothering him. And there's been a lot of speculation what was going on with this guy who grabbed the camera, probably took the SD cards out from a serious angle too. Well, Charlie's executive producer of his radio show, The Charlie Kirk Show, Andrew Colvett here, is going to explain all of that.
One of our dear friends that literally from the very beginning started with us and loved Charlie like a brother, he grabbed the SD cards out of the camera afterwards. And there's all these conspiracy videos about, like, why did he grab the SD cards? Well, first of all, they're in the possession of the FBI. Okay. It's not like he took them and like ran off with them. Second of all, I asked him personally, I said, why did you do that? And he looked at me and this was his answer. He said, because I know people can be evil. And he did not want that footage being grabbed by somebody. There was videos of people after the incident going and stealing hats off the table. I mean, so I'm so grateful he did that and that was his instinct. He's like, I'm depressed to know that that was why I did that, but I knew that I had to protect that footage because I wanted, I mean, you know, you're recording in like 4K, you know? And so I'm so glad he did that.
Which that makes all the sense in the world why this guy would have the presence of mind to do that. It also shows you impeccable maturity, calmness, and deep thinking about the situation and not being overtaken by the shock of having this guy who you've worked with so closely for so long getting shot. And then you freeze up and you don't know what to do. The presence of mind by that staffer, that guy working with the video team, very, very impressive. Because he's right. Anyone would want to use a lot of people, not anyone, a lot of people would want to utilize that footage for their own gain, for spreading some bad visuals, not in the right way or not with the right motive. And so to grab that footage is just impressive. And this guy is who Candace Owens got to speak with, and she got to have a peek at that footage. And let's hear what she saw.
Who is that? Like, actually, I should be able to figure this out because I've got a pretty big network at Turning Point USA. I'm the person's wearing shades. I'm not recognizing the individual. And I reach out to somebody on the inside and I'm just like, who's this person? And they tell me the person's name and I go, oh, wait a second. And I look again, I'm like, I know this person because it's been a few years, but I know this person. This person's been around Turning Point for quite some time, for years. Like I said, back when I was working at Turning Point, early days. So I'm like, I'm just going to reach out. Obviously, I know this individual. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to say, hey, what's up with this? Where is this footage? Why did you do this? What were you doing up there on the rocks? What's up? Like, this is not the first thing that I would do if I had just witnessed Charlie Kirk being shot. And I'll say this right now. He was extremely forthcoming. Like, as soon as I reached out, I just sent a text because I still had his number. And he was extremely forthcoming, immediately got onto the phone. And first and foremost, I should say, obviously, he's seeing all of these clips going viral and he is fearful for his family. He doesn't have any security and people are looking, you know? And he said, look, as you can see in the footage, I was sitting right to the left or to the left of Charlie when Charlie got shot, and I instantly knew that he was not going to be okay. I instantly knew that he was dead. And I then, like, as you can see, people that are running. Anybody that was in that zone ran to the back, and he caught his breath. He wanted to check in with and communicate to other people that were working with and around Turning Point USA. That's why he's on his phone, communicating to them what had happened. That's what he told me. Then I asked, okay, well, what about this camera thing? Why would you grab the cameras? And he says, because the first thing that I thought is that I better secure the footage and be helpful and hand that footage over to the feds. Well, obviously, that's where things get into a pickle with me, because we don't trust the feds, right? I'm like, no, we don't trust the feds. We don't got to do that. Just let me have the footage. I'm like, just send me the footage. Please let me look at it. There's a lot of conspiracies that are floating around right now. People don't know what to believe. People are doing very, what I would say, credible videos. People that certainly have the credibility are ballistics experts that are saying that what we see in the front is an exit wound, not an entry wound. I don't know one way or the other because I'm not an expert. I'm getting inundated with messages from people that hunt, people that are in the military, saying that this had to have come from another direction. This footage could help. As if nothing else, let me help you. Let me formally debunk that by seeing this footage. Like, could you send this footage over to me? Well, he didn't want to send the footage over to me without checking with Turning Point lawyers. I said, look, technically, you own the footage. Like, you and some other people own the footage. Like, let me just see the footage, because why go through lawyers? Like, I just want to see the footage. And also, I asked the question, why not just release it? We've already seen the worst thing that you could possibly see from the front, right? Like, the front is what is the traumatizing video. And I understand that he wants to afford his wife some protection. Like, this has, to experience that, Erica, so many people watching the love of your life in the last second of their life, it's traumatizing. I'm traumatized by it, right? That's not my husband and the father of my children. And so out of a loyalty to Erica, he also doesn't want to give more footage to the internet. But I said, look, I'm not going to publish it. I just want to see it. And I think you should let me see that, because people trust me. They know that I'm very serious about this. I don't care about anything right now other than figuring out who killed Charlie Kirk.
What do you guys think about that? The guy not willing to give it to Candace? Because I think it makes sense, before we hear exactly what she saw, to not hand over that footage right now. But I can bet you, if the guy released that footage, which, he's got a lot of complicated things with Turning Point, the pressures from them, the pressure from the FBI. I bet you, just like when the FBI released all these photos of the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, how fast the internet was able to piece things together about this guy and where he was and different information. The internet would go so fast into hyper mode about trying to figure out details based on that camera angle, just like we've heard from all these ballistic experts. If you go on Twitter, if you go on YouTube, can you imagine the amount of information and good analysis we would have if that footage was released? That's why I could see that being a really wise move to release it. Now, everyone else is going to be like, oh, you can't do that. It's too sensitive for Charlie Kirk's wife. I could see that, but like Candace has said, we've already seen the most vicious thing. Why not try to get to the bottom of this? It makes sense to me. I think the internet and people online would dissect that and give so many answers, maybe that the feds don't want. Let me know what you guys think. Now let's hear from Candace. What did she actually see?
So in the short run, he agrees that rather than send the footage, he will get onto a FaceTime call with me and he will show me the footage on his computer. He did that, and I watched the footage, and I'm going to tell you what I saw. And to the people specifically, the people that are in the military, people that know weapons, I'm telling you this because you might be able to add more color or more clarity here. What you would expect to see. If given the weapon that they have said did this, the bullet they have said did this, I don't know anything about any of this. So I'm just telling you what I saw, okay? First and foremost, there is nothing gory about this shot at all. And so again, I am still going to work with him to get me the footage so that I think it should be shared. There's nothing gory about this footage from the back. The thing that really stood out to me, and I just kept asking him to replay it over and over and over again, is that there's no blood. There's no blood from the back. There is no blood. So I think a lot of people were wondering whether or not that bullet pierced and went out the back. I think I vaguely even remember, and Skylar, you can maybe live look this up, but like I thought the feds were saying they were looking for a bullet at some point, which is now very alarming to me. I don't understand that. How could they have been looking for a bullet? Because if I'm not seeing, and there isn't, I'm telling you, what happens in the front is not what happens in the back at all. If I'm not seeing any blood, what are we to take from that? The only thing that could make sense, if what they're saying is true and that person took the shot from the place that they are saying that individual took the shot from, it would suggest that it was inside of Charlie, right? And they would know that. The feds would have known that. So they would have communicated that they were never looking for a bullet. Because remember, one shot. So I'm very confused. I'm very confused, not by what I saw, but what I didn't see. Okay? That's pretty much all I can tell you right now. And I am going to try to get all of the footage. And I understand that right now he is very fearful. But I am going to continue to try to privately push him to just release it. I believe that transparency is the only way. I'm much more, I think all of us would agree, I have much more trust in the people than I do in the feds. The feds are lying about everything, so they should not be the only people that have access to this. And I understand not wanting to have that relived from another angle, but given the fact that there is no gore and there is no blood from this angle, I don't see why not.
So what do you guys think about that take from Candace? Because I think that makes a lot of sense. Why not release the footage if there's no gory things? And so many people want answers. And do we trust the feds? No. Some of you guys might, because the Trump administration is in power now, even though we've had this whole debacle with the Epstein files and can't release this, can't release that, and oh, it's a hoax. I don't understand why. I would see it as a wise thing to release the footage, to give us answers. Look at how many people are affected by Charlie Kirk's death. Look at how many people are going to these vigils. I am in Slovenia right now, in Central Europe. There are people here talking about it. It's on the radio station here. Some of you guys don't even know where Slovenia is. It's where Trump's wife is from, Melania. It's worldwide. And if we could have some answers and some extra footage and things to piece together, because we are getting a lot of contradictory information, the more information we can get, the better. And especially the more visual evidence we can get, the better. Now, it's a tough call on that guy's part, because I'm sure he's going to get threats either way if he releases the footage from people who don't buy the Fed story, people who do buy the Fed story. He's going to get backlash either way probably. And that's a hard call to make. That's a very tough call to make. It's easy to sit here and say, oh, he should release the footage. What's he scared of? Don't be afraid. That is something you don't know if you want to deal with or you want to have your family deal with, because people are vicious, man. People are vicious and irritated and mad. And especially with somebody getting killed, the emotions are at a high. And people can get tossed around mentally with all their emotions. So it's not an easy call to make. And that's something we all have to figure out and remember in this situation when we're talking about Candace, when we're talking about all these other people. There's a lot at play. And that's why when we see things like this from someone like Laura Loomer, who always loves to be a hothead and be throwing spears and throwing fiery darts at people and being so emotionally charged that it seems like she can't see when something is clear in front of her because she gets so irritated. I think she loves attention. This is why you have to keep your emotions in check and think things through. Because Laura Loomer tweeted this as a result of Candace looking into this thing with Charlie's death. She said, after spending the entire week grifting like an absolute lunatic, trying to monetize the murder of her former boss and best friend Charlie Kirk, Real Candace O announced today that she isn't going to his memorial because she's going to be hanging out with Ye or Kanye West instead. Now, Candace is saying she's not being invited because she keeps hashing on and trying to dig deep into this Charlie Kirk thing, and people at Turning Point USA are not happy about that. So that makes sense. She then said you can help her solve the murder of her friend Charlie Kirk by buying her merchandise. Why does she need to hawk shitty-ass merch that rips off the CIA when her husband George Farmer is worth over $250 million and is set to inherit billions of dollars from his elderly father? Yeah, we're totally going to solve the murder of Charlie Kirk by listening to Candace scream about Netanyahu, how Netanyahu is tied to Charlie's death, and how there was no blood visible when Charlie was shot, even though we all saw it gushing out of his jugular. Again, Candace said from the back we didn't really see blood. Now, Candace is trying to sell her merch. Yes, okay, we have business is business. That's true. She's trying to sell it right here. Everybody tries to earn money. Don't let Laura Loomer get all irritated about that. And just because the family's worth a ton of money. Now, is it the best timing to be trying to sell merch? I don't know. Just like all these other people that are trying to make money off Charlie Kirk's death by selling that Freedom shirt, and they say all the proceeds are going to Charlie Kirk's family. Who knows if that's true? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But we do have a lot of people like that. But an example of Laura Loomer, who is supposedly a Jew, who supposedly is not as well, gets so mad that Candace is just questioning things. And if we listen to what Candace is saying, why would you not question what the feds are saying? If us in the MAGA movement have built this perception, built this belief of questioning what the feds say for so long, why would we not question it now? Just because the Trump administration's in office, as if we haven't seen some fishy things going on with the FBI and the Department of Justice, the Epstein files, wanting to go after people who criticize Israel. Now Pam Bondi's talking about hate speech being something that they can go after people for. I don't see why it's unreasonable to question the feds right now. And I'm glad Candace is. And use that example of Laura Loomer getting so irritated and pissed that Candace is just questioning things as an example for you guys and myself about why we got to keep our head level in this situation and take our time to reason it out, think it through, and don't let it emotionally take you over where you're not willing to look into things or question things. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.